Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know the mission. We take key ideas, really dig into them, and pull out the insights so you can get informed fast.
And stay informed.
Exactly. Today, we're zoning in. We've got Chapter 5 from Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. It's our single source this time, our goal. Break down the core arguments, maybe simplify some of the I mean, it was written back in 1910.
Yeah, over a century ago.
Right. And reframe it so it feels relevant, conversational. Think of it as your shortcut to understanding this, well, foundational self-help text.
Absolutely. And Wattles' work, despite its age, it really tackles timeless concepts. Chapter 5, which he titles Increasing Life, is pretty crucial. It kind of lays the groundwork for his whole philosophy on wealth creation.
Increasing life.
Okay. And it challenges some deeply ingrained beliefs, proposes a very different way of looking at our desires and, well, the universe itself.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Chapter 5 kicks off by tackling a pretty big idea, doesn't it? This notion that maybe some higher power actually wants us to be poor.
Yeah, or benefits from it somehow.
That sounds, very old-fashioned. What's Wattles' take on that?
He confronts it head on, basically argues we need to ditch that belief entirely, outdated thinking.
Right.
The core idea he puts forward is that this intelligent substance, which he describes as being everything, in everything, including us, is consciously alive.
Okay.
And crucially, because it's living intelligence, its fundamental nature is to desire more life. It's an inherent drive.
More life.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I get that intuitively. Like a plant reaching for the sun. He uses an analogy about a seed, right?
Exactly. That's the illustration he uses. You plant one seed, and in the process of living, of growing, it produces, 100 more seeds?
Yeah, multiplication.
The very act of living leads to increase, to multiplication. And he extends that idea to intelligence and consciousness too, suggesting they also inherently seek expansion, fuller expression.
So, if everything is striving for more life, where does wealth fit in? Because the science of getting rich isn't really about, farming more seeds.
No, not literally. Wattles argues that to experience more life, to know more, do more, be more, we inherently need more, things.
Things. Like resources.
Resources, opportunities, tools, experiences, you name it. So becoming wealthy isn't just about piling up possessions. He frames it as a necessity for living a fuller, more expansive life.
Ah, I see. So that desire for, say, the bigger house or the travel experience or the means to learn a new skill, that's not just superficial wanting then.
According to Wattles, no. That desire for wealth is actually the potential for a larger life seeking to realize itself within you.
Okay.
He compares it to the very force that makes a plant grow. It's life itself striving for fully expression through you, that longing you feel. That's a sign of this inherent life force wanting to expand your experience.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. He then connects this to the universe itself, or what he calls a single living substance. What's the implication there?
He posits that this single living substance, which, some might equate with God, or the universe inherently wants you to have everything you can possibly use to express more life.
Everything.
Everything you can use for more life. He states it pretty plainly. God wants you to be rich, so this life force can express more through you. He's essentially arguing that nature, the universe, is on your side in this quest.
Wow. That's a pretty radical idea for the time, maybe even now for some people.
Yeah.
But he adds a crucial caveat, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's not just about selfishly grabbing everything.
Precisely. That's key. He stresses how vital it is to align your desire for wealth with the overarching purpose of more life for everyone, not just your own, selfish gratification.
Okay.
He emphasizes that true life is about fulfilling all your functions, physical, mental, spiritual, without going to extremes in any one area.
So it's not about living like royalty in endless leisure, nor is it purely about intellectual pursuits in an ivory tower, or just sacrificing everything for others. It's finding a balance.
Exactly that. He clarifies the desire for wealth should let you enjoy all facets of life. Good food, beauty, travel, intellectual growth, yes, but also acts of kindness, contributing positively to the world. He stresses that extreme selfishness and extreme selflessness are both imbalances. They don't lead to a true increase of life.
And he directly challenges that idea of self-sacrifice as the path to, divine favor. That was a common belief then? maybe still lingers for some.
He strongly refutes it. The notion that God wants you to sacrifice yourself to gain favor? No. Instead, he argues, God wants you to make the most of yourself for your own benefit and for the benefit of others.
How so?
His reasoning is, well, the best way you can actually help others is by maximizing your own potential first. Then you're in a position to offer more, contribute more.
Right, you can't pour from an empty cup sort of thing.
Exactly. Which leads him to a pretty clear conclusion then about our right to pursue wealth. He concludes that it's therefore right, even commendable, to dedicate your primary focus to acquiring wealth, seeing it as a fundamental means to greater self-expression and contribution to the world around you.
Okay, that's a strong statement. Now, a really important mind shift happens at this point, moving away from a very common way of thinking about getting rich.
Absolutely. This is maybe the cornerstone. He introduces a critical distinction. You are meant to create, not to compete for what already exists.
Create, not compete.
Yes, he explains that the intelligent substance will work for you, but it won't take from others to give to you. It's not a zero-sum game.
So it's not about trying to grab a bigger slice of a limited pie.
Precisely. He emphasizes that getting rich doesn't require shady tactics or deception or exploiting people. You don't need to envy what others have because you have the capacity to create the same or even more without taking from them.
He really draws a line in the sand there between the creator and the competitor.
He does. He clearly defines the goal state as becoming a creator, where your gain doesn't come at someone else's expense. In fact, it should lead to others having more too. It's an abundance and expansion mindset for everyone.
He even touches on the historical context, the plutocrats of his era, the ones who amassed huge fortunes through what sound like very competitive means.
That's right. He suggests that these individuals, even though they operated from that competitive mindset, sometimes unknowingly served a larger purpose in, say, organizing industry.
Like an unintended consequence.
Sort of, but he implies their time is limited and that true lasting satisfaction is rarely found through that kind of competitive wealth accumulation. He uses a pretty striking analogy.
Yeah.
Compares them to the monster reptiles of the prehistoric ages serving a temporary evolutionary role.
Wow, okay. That's a vivid image. And it links back to this idea of avoiding a scarcity mindset, right?
Exactly. He warns against falling into that trap of believing resources are finite, the idea that all the money is being cornered.
Because that triggers the wrong mode.
Right. He argues that kind of thinking immediately activates a competitive mindset, which then hinders the creative process that he's advocating for.
So instead of focusing on potential limitations, what should our mindset be?
He encourages a mindset of trust in abundance. Really leaning into that. He assures the reader, assures you that there are untold riches available. He even mentions gold still in the mountains as an example.
Right.
And that more will be created if needed. The key message is the resources you require will come.
And this leads to the idea of focusing on something beyond what we can currently see and touch.
Yes. He urges us to focus on the limitless wealth within the formless substance, rather than getting hung up on the perception of a limited visible supply.
The unseen potential.
Exactly. He wants you to have this deep knowing that what you need is coming to you as fast as you can receive it and use it. He emphasizes that no one can hoard enough physical stuff to prevent you from getting what is rightfully yours through this creative process.
He even applies this to really practical concerns of the time, like land ownership and trusts controlling resources.
He does. He encourages the reader, you not to worry about missing out on opportunities like the best building spots being taken or land tied up by trusts. Because, he reiterates, when you operate from this creative mindset, you're essentially bringing what you desire into existence from an unlimited source rather than scrambling for a finite resource someone else already has.
Okay. So as Chapter 5 wraps up, he brings us back to some foundational ideas he laid out earlier, particularly from Chapter 4.
Yes, he reemphasizes those three core principles. 1, the existence of a thinking substance from which all things are made. 2, the power of thought within this substance to create the form thought of. And 3, the human ability to impress our thoughts upon this substance to cause creation.
The bedrock of his system.
They're the absolute pillars upon which his whole science of getting rich rests.
So to boil down Chapter 5 for you listening, the key takeaway really seems to be this. The universe is fundamentally abundant. It inherently desires growth and increased life for everyone, including you.
Yes.
And your desire for wealth, when understood correctly, is actually aligned with this universal principle. It's fundamentally about creation, not competition.
Precisely. And it really sets the stage for the practical application of these ideas, which he gets into in later chapters.
That does raise a significant question for you, doesn't it? How might fundamentally shifting your mindset from one of competition to one of creation change how you approach your own goals, your ambitions?
Yeah.
Definitely something to chew on. And how does this principle of increasing life resonate with your own aspirations, your daily interactions maybe? We really encourage you to reflect on that.
Good questions.
Next time on the deep dive, we'll venture further into Wattles' work. Maybe look at how to practically apply these principles, perhaps even digging into the crucial role of thinking in a certain way, which he covers later on.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember, you absolutely have the capacity to be truly well-informed.